everyone deals with trauma. Everyone faces some aspect or some part of the life as trauma. But some of this trauma, we don't even know that it's existing. We don't even know that we can start healing from it. We live in tend to live in like a victimhood of trauma sometimes. Last week we discussed about what we're saying to ourselves, but this week we're going to continue with a way of healing from trauma by first of all just explaining a little bit about how to kind of look at trauma, how to be honest with ourselves and truly not ignore that trauma, but really go into, well, what's happening? Because as soon as we know what's happening in the world and not saying this, they're doing that to me, or this is happening to me, as soon as we're not reacting to the outside world and understanding we can be creators of the world, we can start to work on how to heal it. So, myself and Rob have both been working with the guides this week in order to know how to help you with this. So, what did you get, Rob, first of all, with this?
So much, so
Hmm.
much, and it's starting to connect more and more and more. And as you and I talk about it, the wisdom is
Hmm.
more and more apparent, which is really, really great. What is clear to me from the guides and from my own inner knowledge is that you can only clear or heal trauma from a place of pure love.
Hmm.
So we have no choice but to do this work from our heart center, which is where we've been the last couple of episodes. So we need to take ourselves back into that space where there is only love. And we need to isolate and recognize the memory that is the trauma, because trauma is a memory. It could have happened in your lifetime, it could have happened in another lifetime, but it has happened. It's a past tense thing, but we hold the memory emotionally and we hold the memory physically. It's like a shock to our body. So our cells take a whack and go out of line
Hmm.
and can't function properly. And then in comes illness, in comes all sorts of problems of all sorts. So to heal that trauma, we go back to the heart space. We identify the trauma. We're not scared of it because it's there. It's something we must deal with. So let's look at it. You can abstract it if you want to, but you need to be able to sort of place in front of you in your heart space this bit of trauma.
Hmm.
And we need to look at the trauma with some gratitude because this trauma happened for a reason
Yeah.
and it taught you a lesson that you needed to learn. So, in order to clean out the remnants of the trauma, which is what it is, you need to accept the lesson, love the lesson because it's part of who you are and you are love. And then you need to surrender that neutralized trauma energy back to source, back to all it is,
Oh.
because it no longer serves you and you don't need it. The memory of that trauma, I think, will probably never leave you because it's part of your lesson and your learning process. But the pain of the trauma can be got rid of, and the physical pain caused by that emotional shock to your system can be eased, and you can relieve symptoms of it.
Hmm.
It's really, really lovely work.
Yeah.
It
Hmm.
takes a bit of courage, but I think, honestly, asking yourself, hand on heart, as I do, what is hurting me? Where did it come from? What was it for? And do I need it anymore? And can I go into this place of perfect love and can I just return it? Can I put it in its place and just let it go because the energy doesn't serve me anymore?
Hmm.
There we go. How does that resonate with you?
Yeah, I would go one step further. Set that intention,
Yeah,
command or demand yourself, because you're only
yeah,
ever commanding yourself
yeah.
rather than the can I, because that's a case of can I or can't I? But yeah, absolutely. But building on what Rob's just said, it definitely feels like, first of all, let's look at trauma. Rob has said what I see in people's bodies when they come for me for a massage. So they're coming for a physical fix to their healing. And they're coming because, yeah, what we can see inside the trauma is an element of that emotional side, something that has gone on in their outside world. And it might have gone on from a previous life, from previous life as a human or something else, some other being. And it's following, and even Rob saying about that memory, the memory is in the DNA, which kind of follows us around. Um, because we've got DNA structure that's not just a human physical DNA as well. We know that now. Certainly in the metaphysical world, we're very well aware of that, and that's what we're trying to activate is all this DNA. And it won't activate while we're still choosing to hold on to trauma. Very, very big word is choosing to hold on to trauma, isn't it? But we can see that as well as it's held in the physical body because we're not letting go of it from what's going on in the outside world. So in the outside world, just for example, you might have a boss at work that you feel, stabs you in the back. Hence, there'd be something around stabbing in your back. You might be mother of young children, lots to do. Most of us actually have we're in a kind of false matrix where there's where we're tending to have to do a lot of things just at this moment in time, and with this is what we're needing to heal and needing to move away from. So we can just be and not be constantly doing in order to feed into false things. And we're going to go talk about that another time. But if you're constantly working on things and allowing things to get on top of you, this is when I see a lot of clients coming in for right, the weight of the world on your shoulders. And they're constantly, people are coming in for problems with shoulders and neck. You can see it in the energy. It's weighed, it's weighed down. But I'm not immune to this. We tend to ignore what's going on in the outside. We don't always see it. So one of the things we have to practice is actually being able to see and notice and see that trauma or feel that trauma happening. So what is going on in the outside world? With all sorts of things, it will have an effect somewhere else if we're not dealing with it. So it'll have an effect in our everyday lives, and it has an effect on the physical body as well. So we talked about this before. If you have, it's somebody having pain in the physical body is actually showing you the memory and the patterning that keeps happening over and over again. I'm sure that again, then you'll understand where you're saying, oh, why is this always happening to me? Or, what's going on here? You might, an easy one to do is saying from job to job or job to business. And the same thing happens because we haven't cleared the trauma from the old job. We've just moved jobs without clearing that trauma. It might also be happening in other areas of your life, might be happening in family life as well. So just have a think. This is where, we tell you about the meditation side. Sit down, go to heart space, think about it, think about what's happening, and then feel where that is in the body. And it's usually somewhere you're already in pain a lot, but sometimes it's about it's not always pain. It's like say the digestive system might not be working, for instance, or we're getting headaches, something like that. Instead of just it's not about not going to the doctors as we usually say. But it's about, why am I getting so many headaches? What is going on here? What trauma is on the outside world that I need to take an honest, good look at? And that's the key. That's the beauty. That's the thing we need to practice, isn't it, Rob, with hearts, looking from heart space.
Absolutely. I think it's important to say as well that many of us will use trauma as an ego boost because it's
Yeah.
quite convenient to wallow in the trauma
Yes.
and
Yes.
to attract attention if you don't feel people pay you attention,
Mm.
to
Yeah.
bring out your traumas
Absolutely.
and play them as a card in a game of cards. Look at my
Mm.
trauma, it's bigger than yours, so I win.
Yes. Yes.
And you see that all the time,
Yeah. And feel
you know,
sorry. Feel
people
sorry for
using their
myself.
pain.
Yeah.
So you have to get past that need.
Hmm.
You have to be at a point, and I think our listeners are by and large at the point
Mm.
where
Yeah.
they recognize that's possible, but they know that this has to be fixed.
Yes,
because the
yes.
the damage only grows.
Mm, mm.
As the shock of the initial trauma, which could have happened centuries ago in another
Yeah.
lifetime and carried down, as that has physically impacted on you, it hasn't healed unless you've done the work, and
Mm.
it will grow.
Oh yeah, it'll grow
And
in every
as
way.
your cells are damaged by it, it will then damage the cells around it,
Mm.
and entire areas of your physical body can't function effectively,
Yeah,
nor can your energetic body because they're connected. So you need
absolutely.
to put aside your ego and you need to stop overthinking. We always say this, stop overthinking.
Mm. Mm.
Get back into your heart center, recognize the trauma, love the trauma,
Mm.
and set it free because you don't need it. We can all do this. And there are many ways to do it. Many modalities offer help
Yes,
with trauma. And you should try anything that you think would work for you. I think we can help people with trauma quite a lot. And certainly we'll append a meditation or an exercise to the end of this
we will. Yeah.
as part of our 12-week challenge
Mm.
to help you perhaps recognize, isolate, and start to heal from your own traumas,
Yeah,
whatever
the
they might be.
aspects.
And we should never take trauma lightly at all.
Mm.
It's hugely
Mm.
significant in everybody on this planet. The planet itself is in trauma,
Yes,
largely caused by
yes,
us,
yes.
really.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
all guilty
Mirror
as charged
image.
here.
We are the planet. Mirror image to
Absolutely.
us. Yeah. So it's all
Absolutely.
down to us to
Yeah.
heal.
And also, let's
Yep.
just mark, and I think we'll come back to this another point, but let's just mark that as we receive trauma, we have given trauma.
Oh, that's interesting, Rob.
So
Yes.
it's a two-way process. None of us
Yeah.
can stand up and say, I haven't hurt someone
Mm.
or haven't
Mm.
done something that caused damage and distress somewhere. We
Mm.
all have.
Mm.
For better or for worse, so be it.
Yeah.
So there's a healing process there too.
Mm.
And they, I think, go hand in hand when you get used to it. But if you can get back into that heart space and you can call in that trauma, you can connect to your this ring of souls that is you in other realities, and you can love this trauma and let it go. So the next bit of trauma can come in and go, and the
Yes.
next bit, and your cells start to realign, and they start to fix the bad cells as the trauma moves out of you.
Mm.
And the traumas become smaller and smaller and less significant
Yeah.
until they are gone.
Mm.
And if you're in that space of pure love, no new trauma can damage you. It can
Yeah.
rock you. You know, you could be sitting doing this work and someone would come past and whack you over the head. You would feel that. But because you're in a place of pure love, that trauma won't stay with you.
Mm.
So it's not something that will need healing. It will just be a like you've got a force shield around you that protects you.
It is your
It's
protection, isn't it? Because
absolutely,
your protection
yeah,
is moving towards the light, as we know, Rob.
yeah,
What you just said, it's lovely. Just to let go of some trauma, lets in more light, and allows you to see the next
yeah,
layer of trauma, and then you allow, release that. Every time you release that bit of trauma, your body lets in more light, and we are obviously going to be light bodies, plasma bodies.
yeah,
So we now need to start, even as a carbon body, we need to let in more light in order to get more energy. We find we're eating less and less food as we're releasing all this
mm,
trauma because we're not needing it, and we're slowly letting in everything that's more the pure light, which what I want to say is the way we see, the way Rob and I have been working with the guides and starting to see more and more about this and understand more and more, which means we can heal quicker and quicker, is when you see the trauma in the body and you see it as a layer of either blackness or murkiness, the way the guide show us now is more like, let's say you've got some guilt from something or a shame from something or a hatred from something sits in the body, and as Rob has said, the cells can't communicate. It stops the cells. It almost breaks them down and could even kill them. So your body is not whole. But what we see with those cells breaking down is almost like the only way I can describe it is like a kaleidoscope shape, like a mandala shape, that is, that's quite murky. It's not as bright and shining as it should be because it's not of pure light. It's of a lower, low vibration. So it's operating in a low vibration that the body can't cope with. If you're not clearing that trauma, all that happens is that trauma gets wider and bigger and bigger and bigger and wider. More cells are affected. And this is when we do tend to end up with, various diseases and illnesses, and weaknesses and not feeling as much energy. So this is why, why not let it go? Why be in victimhood and have a poorly body and disease? This is one reason why it's so beautiful to just say, "Do you know what? I want to let all this go and let in the light." So, one way that me and Rob can help individually is to look at some light language, which is a technology that brings in the light. It's almost brings in the way the guys are showing me right now. It's almost like a laser beam, if you want, of light that kind of smashes through that old trauma, the frequency of guilt, shame, hate, they're all singing at a different frequency in your body and it's a low frequency that's not of benefit to the body. So the light language almost like decodes and then it smashes through so that it can reprogram and help you. Now, this is not about you just coming to any therapist who does either light language or you can use it, with tuning forks, singing bowls, all sorts of things. Anything that produces a pure, lovely frequency, the right frequency. But it's not what we still want to stress. It's not about you just coming to somewhere and not being responsible yourself. It's still about the work that you need to do to recognize that you don't want this trauma anymore, to let it go. There's no point going to somewhere and having that sound healing done and then continuing to live in the victim mode and continuing to say, oh, look at me, look at me with ego. Um, and so, it's just so important to work with heart space so that you neutral, so you can see it from a higher perspective. Because the more and more you're practicing going into heart space, and Rob and I have given you the meditation to go into heart space, the more and more you do that, the more you see yourself as a higher being, and you can look down on your body and say, oh, in the third person, this body has this image of that's a bit murky. Oh yes, I feel like it's guilt. Oh yes, it's affecting my body and it's painful for the body. Look into all of that. And even you with your own sounds inside, your own internal sounds, your healthy body has the most beautiful your own song, like an angelic song. It has your own pure song of light. So ultimately, the way to heal all the trauma is the light. Is to absolutely work with a pure light. So it's seeing the trauma and then working with the pure light. It's not avoiding it and just saying, I just want to work with the
Yeah,
light, because that doesn't get rid of trauma. That still stays. The ignoring it makes it stay there. So we've got to look at it, look at the darkness, and look at what's going on with our trauma, with all the patterning, and then begin to heal it with the love and light, as it were. Yes.
absolutely. And I think that's probably a safe place to leave
Yeah.
this part of trauma. We can go on for hours because we've been given huge amounts of information. And I
Loads
think we
of
can share that
downloads.
over a few episodes rather than cram it
Yes.
all into one.
Yes.
So I hope that people have listened to this and resonated with it and
Mm.
understand what the guides have told us to pass on. And I hope that they will go on to the attached exercise and do that
Yes. Yeah.
and start their own process of healing and also go back to the previous meditations that we've attached.
Yeah. Keep going back.
Perhaps repeat those if you can find the
Yeah.
time, just do them
Yeah.
again and again until you're ready to move on. And, perhaps you might be able to leave them at some point and just redo them from your own memory point of view.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fine. But keep doing the work. Don't let it go. And if you have a bad meditation, that's okay. Do it again tomorrow. It's okay.
Yeah.
These things happen. But start the process for yourself. Don't wait.
Yeah. Yeah.
because negative attracts negative and it grows and it
Yeah.
eats. So don't let that happen to you. And if you feel it is you, then take steps,
Mm,
easy steps, and
mm.
do it.
Yeah. Do it before it gets
Yeah,
too overwhelming, before it
please.
gets too much, before it
Yeah,
gets too painful. Yeah. And you just, you can nip it in the bud quite
yeah.
quickly. Yeah. Hmm.
Grand.
Okay, so watch out for the meditation, and we will see you with with some more information on how to do all this work on healing. We will see you next week.
Bye now.